Carl here from Brrraaains A Head-Banging Life, gbhblofficial for short. 31 days of Halloween, reliving childhood horror and taking those nostalgia goggles off. Almost there, the end is in sight, and I'm glad it is, because when I set out to do this, I did not expect to fall ill halfway through, so it has become a bit of a slog, but only a few more to talk about, so let's continue this. You've seen the title, this is a big one. It is one of the few, again, similar to a couple that have come up over this month, but one of the few that have the 10 out of 10 score on our website, because this movie is simply phenomenal, and in my opinion, it's one of the best horror movies ever made. I've thought that for a very, very long time, and I think that even more now as a grown-up. As a child, I think it's fair to say I certainly would not have understood or appreciated the nuances and the detail and all the stuff that makes this film really, really special. Probably more fascinated by the effects and the kind of violence and the intensity, those moments more than anything else. Whereas now as an adult, I watch it and I love it for the tension, I love it for the atmosphere, and I love it just for the slow, quiet moments more than the intense moments, which are brilliant in themselves anyway. The Thing, you know, I know it's a remake, obviously, from The Thing from Another World and all that, but I never really sort of see it that way. I always think it's a bit of a silly conversation because it's so wildly different in tone and style and everything like that, that I don't link the two at all. Just like I don't link the third one, the reimagining slash prequel thing. I never really see that as a viable sort of like entity in this. I see this movie, this 1980s movie, as its own thing, and I'm more than happy to keep it that way, because neither of the other two, of course, the original film, you know, you can't be mad at that for not being able to touch this one, but you know, there's no excuse for the one, what was it, 2011, that one, maybe it was later, but that one, like, that's still so inferior to this 80s movie. The Thing, it, as a child, I just remember being not so much terrified, but fascinated with the idea of what it is, how intangible it was for my childhood brain, that it could mimic us, but do it quickly, and it could do everything about us, and no one would know, but there's certain things that would like clue people in, all these incredible things that I just could not quite understand, let alone fathom the idea of how world-ending that could be. Now, as obviously an adult, I see it clearly. The film actually kind of spells it out quite heavily as well. But as a child, seeing those incredible effects related to it, from the dogs in the early stage, which I think is one of the more harrowing scenes, to the chest, of course, opening up as an iconic horror movie scene, to one that really disturbed me as a youngster, and that when I rewatched it this time around, I pointed that out to my partner and I said, oh, this was a death that always kind of disturbed me. And it's when Doc puts his fingers in your man's face. I can't remember the character's name, but he ends up like putting his fingers up through his mouth, so it's basically almost like fully underneath his face, and then you sort of see him dragging him off like that. Hate that scene as a youngster. Really, really, really creeped me out, particularly as we never see or understand how Doc became the Thing. So it was, why am I saying Doc? It is Doc, isn't it? It is Doc. Anyway, whichever character that is, we never saw how, so like the idea it just happened out off screen or whatever, I always found really uncomfortable, or the idea that it could have happened even earlier as well, really, really uncomfortable as well. But that's probably like on the more egregious kind of horror side. That was the one that really affected me when I was younger. That and whichever character it is, again, I'm forgetting all the character's name. I'm tired, that's why. He gets caught and he runs out into the snow, and you know his hands are all like that, and he kind of looks at them with those black inky eyes and sort of screams in that horrible alien like noise, that haunting noise. That's a really disturbing moment as well, that had that effect on me as a kid, and as an adult now I just watch and go, oh, you know. But mostly I love this film. I knew when this list came up that there was no way I couldn't do this film. There was no question about it, and I've seen it probably on this list, one of the most rewatched horror movies on this list, I think, more than things potentially like Return of the Living Dead and all that, because The Thing is just a unique environment movie in that, you know, you really don't watch it to be entertained, so to speak, in the way you do, say, like I said, with like energy, excitement, make you feel good, all of that, because everything about The Thing is just kind of downbeat and dark and gloomy, and it just goes that way constantly to the end. But it also takes its time. It's very much a slow burn horror movie, and it also leaves things so open for interpretation as well. So for some reason, all of that sort of stuff would normally be quite off-putting for me, particularly from a childhood perspective. I'm surprised I liked this as much as a child because of all these things that I normally tend to avoid as a child. You know, I want fast-paced horror, action and stuff like that. I wasn't getting it with this, but I was still fascinated by it. I don't know if just the caliber of what Carpenter was doing with this, how he made it look, how he made it feel. I think so. It clearly had a huge effect on me because that has carried on. I've seen this film countless times. It's up there as one of my most rewatched horror movies, and I think it is the case for a lot of people too. I think rightfully, this is one of the most beloved and appreciated horror movies now. You know, obviously it wasn't at the time, but I think now it's respected and seen as an absolute horror classic, but for good reason. And I'm one of the people that fall into that camp. You know, this is one of those where everybody tells you it's a brilliant movie, and they're right. And I still think that. I thought it when I was younger, and I think it now perhaps even more, because now I feel I can appreciate so much more of the nuances and the detail in it than I could, of course, as a youngster. It is the thing. What do you reckon on this one? You got any thoughts? You know what to do? Let me know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. If you'd like to see more content like this, please consider hitting the subscribe button. It is gratefully appreciated. You can find us over at gbhbl.com, our full website, where reviews, news and so much more goes up daily. We're also on all social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, at gbhbl. Just search for gbhbl and you will find us out there. We also have merchandise on sale. You can access the shop via the website.